everyone. Welcome back to Crime Weekly News. I'm Derek Levasseur.
I'm Stephanie Harlow.
And we're coming to you with a new episode like we do every week now, where we cover something in the headlines, a crime in the headlines. And this one is kind of close to home because I've mentioned this YouTube channel on our show before, Adventures with a Purpose. And now they're in the headlines for a different reason. I actually was not aware of it until Stephanie told me about it today. And Stephanie, you could feel my reaction to it. I was severely disappointed, but I'm going to let you fill everybody in on the details.
Yeah, you have mentioned them before. And I mean, we want to kind of have a disclaimer here going right in. What we're going to talk about today doesn't have anything to do with the entity as a whole, right? We can all...
Correct. Good point.
Yeah, we can all, acknowledge that Adventures with Purpose have done a lot of great things for missing people and for the family members of those missing people. And so we can't let, one person who's misbehaving in the organization or one person who's doing bad things in the organization to spoil that entire organization, because every kind of group has one bad apple. And basically, for those who don't know, Adventures with Purpose is a search and recovery dive team based out of Bend, Oregon. And on their website, it says they're dedicated to helping families of missing loved ones basically find these missing people. And this is a free service that they provide, which I think is awesome. And it's made possible basically by people like you guys who watch YouTube channels and who make donations, who buy their merchandise, things like that. That allows them to provide this free service to family members who are missing their loved ones. And according to their website, they've helped solve 26 missing person cases since 2019. Most recently, what you guys would probably be aware of, because it was a big case in the true crime community, they made headlines last summer when they recovered the body of the missing California teenager, Kylie Rodney, who went missing in August after attending a campground party. Her body was later found in a nearby reservoir. Really sad case, but they did help find her. So one of the founders of Adventures with Purpose, his name is Jared Leisek. I believe it's pronounced Leisek. He was arrested on Thursday, January 5th on suspicion of child rape charges after criminal charges were filed in November of 2022 in San Pete County, Utah, where the alleged crime happened. Now, according to the indictment, which is dated January 10th, the alleged rape occurred in 1992, and the victim, who was Jared's cousin, was 9 or 10 at the time, and he was 16 or 17 at the time. And he initially was charged with 2 counts of child rape against that same victim. It allegedly occurred the same year at the home of their grandparents, but for some reason, this second charge has been dropped altogether, although at this point, there's been no reason given for why this second charge was dropped. And at this point, from what we figured out is Utah does not have a statute of limitations on rape. So even though this happened decades ago, it doesn't matter. And I agree with that. It shouldn't matter. There
Absolutely.
should be no statute of limitations on rape. It shouldn't matter. And this victim was a child, a literal child when this happened, 9 or 10 years old. And not only that, the cousin of this man, Jared Leisek, who was in not only a position of being the older one in the relationship, but also a trusted older person in this relationship. So it definitely doesn't matter how long it took for this crime to come out. I'm glad it did. And do you have some thoughts on the exact crime that he's being charged with and what it means?
Well, we looked it up earlier because obviously every state is different. And essentially, if you're looking for the statute number, it's 76-5-402.1. And essentially, it states that the defendant had sexual intercourse with a child who was under the age of 14. So that's essentially the statute that they use for rape of a child. And it's horrible. It's horrible. And it's one of those things where, like you were saying, just to piggyback on it, you don't put a statute of limitations on these types of cases because this is a perfect example. You have someone who was 9 years old at the time, didn't really comprehend what was happening at that moment, but clearly it was traumatic enough for them to remember it. Now they're older and they maybe have been able to remove themselves from a situation where they felt like they couldn't say anything. So once they develop the courage to come forward, they can do so, and their offender can still be held responsible. So it should always be the case. And not every state is like that, but it should be. And, so I'm glad this person came forward now. I will say, in my own personal experience, we've had a couple cases like this where it happens years later. And for them to go forward with this, you always want to believe the victim. If they come forward, you're going to, as a police department, you're not going to turn them away unless there's something definitive that determines they're lying. But if they come forward with information, I can tell you it was probably pretty detailed for them to feel this confident with it going forward. And clearly they feel like they have a strong case. And I would even argue, not being an attorney, they probably felt like the second charge was maybe not as clear. Maybe the victim was a little unsure about some of the details. So they're like, you know what? The first one's so good, we only need to get him on that one anyways. It's still going to be a felony. It's probably not going to go kindly with the judge based on the age discrepancy. You're talking, he was 16 or 17 at the time. She was only 9. And then we talk about, and I think you're going to get into it, in the affidavit itself, they do give you some details about the specific incident in question, and it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. So, he's going to have some problems. And again, I think we should put a disclaimer out there: innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But whenever a case like this comes up, I think I speak for you when I say we're always going to believe the victim with allegations until something again comes out that disproves what they're saying with 100% certainty. Other than that, we're going to believe the victim.
So here's the thing. Yes, it was a horrific. This isn't like some, obtuse kind of like sexual abuse charge where we don't know exactly what happened. It occurred in a bedroom. Basically, what the victim is saying is that Jared pulled her pants down, penetrated her with his penis. This is rape. She was 9. It's disgusting. And here's the weird thing. Held her down, definitely against her will, even though we were talking on the phone earlier. It's not like a 9 or 10-year-old can really give consent.
It wouldn't matter.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. But just to understand that this was a horrific and traumatic experience for this child. It wasn't something that was pleasant in any way, shape, or form. But here's the weird thing. I read that his lawyer had said, he's not saying anything about this right now. However, he has proof that this didn't happen. But then these emails came out where, allegedly there was an email exchange, and reportedly the emails are signed Jared, and they come from an official Adventures with Purpose email address. I'm not saying for sure that this email exchange happened. However, I will tell you that allegedly this email exchange happened between Jared and his victim, aka his cousin. And in this email, he basically blamed his family and his Mormon upbringing for the mistakes that he's made. And he said that he's made peace with all the bad things in his life, including what he did to his victim. And when I say his Mormon background, I don't mean standard LDS beliefs. I mean, this is FLDS. This is the fundamentalist, the branch off of the LDS church. The people who live in a place called Short Creek, which is on the Utah-Arizona border. These people live in this Short Creek area. It was the same area that Warren Jeffs and his father, Rulon Jeffs, ran for decades. And basically, everybody who left the LDS church and wanted to find a place where they would still be able to practice plural marriage when it was outlawed in the United States, they went to this Short Creek area, and they've continued practicing plural marriage this entire time, to the point where they have some birth defects happening in this area. A lot of these rare genetic diseases, because we have cousins marrying cousins, having babies with cousins, things like that. And in this Short Creek community for a long time, it was kind of just well known that Warren Jeffs and Rulon Jeffs, they were marrying young underage girls. So we're talking FLDS beliefs here. And this is what it looks like Jared kind of grew up in, if we're to believe him. And he said, quote, in this email, quote, "It's unfortunate that the Leisek and Jahazi's lineage experienced the shit that you, I, and many of the other cousins were brought into. Like yourself, I was once a victim by multiple people, both in and out of the family. It's unfortunate when families like ours experience molestation. I have myself tried to apologize to you and to have an open conversation with you about it to answer any questions you may have, end quote. He's her abuser and he wants to have an open conversation with her about the abuse. And basically, this is just the way I'm reading it. Her abuser wants to explain why he abused her and wants her forgiveness so that he can move on with his life. It's pretty disgusting. He also said that he's previously made attempts to apologize, not to clear his own conscience, but to help the victim with any struggles they might have, quote, as many of us have had to learn how to overcome and move forward, end quote. He also said that making a 46-year-old man live with the mistakes of a child is not realistic, and, quote, thank God we are not forever judged for our actions as youth, and I'm grateful that many of us cousins acknowledged and stopped those things which happened to us and those since we have committed as a result of grooming. Listen, he's basically saying that this is why he did it. And we were talking earlier and I always like to try to have compassion and see things from every angle and try to be unbiased. And I understand that he may have been victimized himself as a child. And I understand that now, as a man who's almost 50 years old, he's trying to distance himself from the sins of his youth. But the time of reckoning has come. You got caught. It came out. I understand you've tried to do good things, hopefully to, take away the guilt of this horrible thing that you did and maybe even the shame of what happened to you. But you have to pay the price now. You committed a crime against a child. You took away her innocence forever. And that's not something that you can just explain away at this point. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, no justification for it. And so he's going to have his chance in court to explain himself. But if his defense is that it was because of my environment that I did it, it's not going to go very well for him. But as you were saying, his lawyer's saying he has a way he can disprove her allegations. And I'll be interested to see how he intends on doing that. I don't know what tangible evidence he would have if he was present during the time when she's alleging that this occurred. It's basically going to be her word against his. And if these emails are, turn out to be his emails that he wrote, he's got some issues,
right?
Yeah, it's an admission of guilt.
Yeah.
So he has some problems there. So we got to wait to see how it plays out and go from there. I was looking at their Adventures with Purpose YouTube channel and also their website. You had mentioned it as well. Their social media. Don't take our advice if you don't want to, but if anybody administratively is watching this from that organization, probably for the meantime, I would scrub Jared from the site, from the social, from the YouTube page. It does seem like he is the guy from the videos that I've watched. And so it's going to be hard because he's in a lot of the content. I maybe leave the videos up, but as far as like his face being plastered all over the social media and all over the main website, maybe take that down for now. But what they're doing, what their mission, their core mission is, it's very important. They solved all these cases because they are highly trained divers, and this is what they specialize in. And although fire departments and police departments have their own dive teams, they're not as good as these guys. They're not doing it all the time. And it is a very difficult thing to do. The visibility is usually limited. They have ways of doing it where they've kind of mastered it at this point. I mean, 26 solves? 26
Definitely.
finds?
Yeah, they've perfected it. They are using technology in a way that law enforcement has not started to do, and they're effective. Period.
They're killing it. And since 2019, it's not like over 30 years. This is a very short window that they've been able to come in. And in some cases, law enforcement has already combed these certain areas that they go back and they find the vehicle or the body. So they're important. They're giving hope to family members that are questioning whether their loved one may still be there or not. They're going in there, they're dotting their I's, crossing their T's, and it is very expensive. So with the funding from you guys, they're able to do this at no cost to the family. So I really do hope, regardless of what happens in this situation, people continue to support Adventures with Purpose, especially if they are willing to separate themselves from him if it's determined that he's guilty of what he's accused of, and they can move forward without really missing a step. Because as you said perfectly, Stephanie, one person, even though the founder, he doesn't represent all of them. And from the videos that I've watched without knowing them personally, it seems like it's a lot of people who are very passionate about this and care about the families that they're working for. So I hope they're able to kind of weather this storm, separate themselves, and move on and continue to do the good work that they're doing, because I have no problem in saying they're doing it a lot better than a lot of the law enforcement agencies that are tasked with doing it. So we need that private entity out there holding departments accountable and doing the extra legwork needed to be done to solve the cases.
Yeah. And I mean, normally I wouldn't have the confidence of saying this, but considering how long ago this happened, I have, a good deal of confidence in saying that they probably didn't know
Right.
about any of this. This
Right.
probably isn't something he was talking about while they're having beers on a Friday night after a successful find. He probably kept all of this to himself. I can't imagine that it's something you talk about with your buddies. It seemed like something he probably wanted to keep hidden, and it's unfortunate for him. He probably feels that this popped up now that he's successful and he feels like he's doing good and maybe wiping the slate clean or, balancing the scales, whatever he believes he's doing. But like I said, day of reckoning is here. I do believe that his colleagues over at the Adventures with Purpose diving team knew nothing about it. And many of them have come out and said, like, if these allegations are true and if what everyone is saying is true, then absolutely we, will not have anything to do with him. Like we're disgusted by this. So it's not as if they're protecting him. But yeah, maybe go onto your website and take the pictures off, That's all for now.
It's not an indictment on him. Yeah, we due process. He's got to do his thing. But yeah, for now, I would play it safe and remove him and continue doing what you're doing and let the process occur the way it needs to occur. And for the victim, I hope we're able to, because he's a public figure. I hope for the most part they're going to do their best to keep her name protected. I hope they're able to do that. I'm sure they'll seal some stuff, but I'm sure the web sleuths out there, if they really want to get it, they probably can.
Let's not.
I would advise you not to do that. Yeah, even if you have it. Let's not do it. It doesn't really. She's
been victimized already. Let's not re-victimize her. Let her have her privacy, please.
Right. It's hard enough that what she's going to do. She's going to have to be. He has a right to confront his accuser. So there's going to be a point where more than likely they're going to be in the same room together at some point. I hope there's a way around it, but that's kind of the way it works. So it's going to take a lot of courage for her to get up there and do that. So let's let her go through what she needs to go through and get the justice she deserves. And we'll follow up with it. If there's something comes of this where he's eventually found guilty, or on the other hand, something happens where it turns out that they're not going to pursue charges, we'll absolutely come out with it. But this is the type of stuff we're going to cover on Crime Weekly News because it's obviously an important case, but it happens more often than it should. It should never happen. But because it's a YouTube channel and we are a YouTube channel, we thought it was important to cover this because I have personally gave them multiple endorsements on this channel. And yeah, I'm quick to give praise, but I'm also going to call out the bad stuff as well. Even if a chance it does hurt them a little bit, I hope it doesn't, but if it does, you guys have the right to know. And I'm sure most of you will make an informed decision and you can understand what Stephanie was saying as far as he may have started the company, but he's not the whole company. There's a lot of people over there that do exactly what he does and hopefully will continue to do it regardless of what happens with him.
Dude, I can't even tell you how many times I got involved with someone personally or professionally and thought, this is a great person. They have the same views as me. They have the same goals. They want the same things. They want to do good for the world, only to find out that they got a skeleton or more than one skeleton in their closet. And then to be left sitting there like, well, did I publicly affiliate myself with this person? Because if I did, now I have some explaining to do. And there's no way you can know everything about a person. Even if you've known them for 10 years, you just can't. And then you can always be blindsided by this. And I believe that this is what happened. I hope he does have to see his day in court because I personally believe that this did happen. And I believe that those emails are real. That's just my opinion. But I definitely do believe that they're real and he needs to, he needs to pay the price now. So thank you guys so much. Let us know what you think in the comments section. If you are somebody who follows Adventures with Purpose, if you support them, if you're going to continue, we hope you are. But let us know what you think. And as always, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because we never really know when we're going to post Crime Weekly News. And if you subscribe, you'll be notified when we do post. And, we just like seeing our family here grow. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Stay safe, Night.
We'll see you next week.